Ken Terminates DQ asks, did Shane ever talk about his experience with his former tag team partner, Buff Bagwell? If not, then it would be cool to hear his honest experience with Buff, because according to DDP, Marcus's health isn't going well.
He's been banged up a bit. I just interviewed him a month ago or 5 weeks ago or so. Marcus is one of those guys that just easy to get along with. And he's had his issues. I mean, let's face it, in this business, it's that the issues with the opioids and things have run roughshod over our generations, right? I mean, killed half of us and screwed a bunch of us up beyond that.
I take it you've read Dopesick, haven't you?
I've not read it, but I've been through it. I had the issue with OxyContin, and it's an incredibly debilitating thing that you delude yourself to while you're doing it, right? I mean, you're I need this, I can't work without it, and looking back, my way of approaching a problem was always to try to wrap intellect around it. Like, okay, explain this to me, get my brain wrapped around this. And, having been the guy that never smoked pot, illicit drugs, whatever might be, I was always afraid of them. But this was being given to me by a doctor, right? And getting it at a pharmacy. So you just sort of in your mind, it's completely safe. A doctor's doing this. But back to Marcus, when they put us together, it was short-lived. And I think nobody's ever told me this. I'm just looking at it from where I stood. There were two guys that similarly built, roughly the same, had very similar wrestling styles, and had started getting over in their generation. And I think that was probably the impetus to putting us together. There wasn't a lot done there. I don't know how long it was they had us together, but it culminated, if my memory is serving correctly, at Bash at the Beach. They had us wrestling a match. And this was when they wanted to, started to turn me heel, or had turned me heel. And, I'm sorry, that was later. I'd been heel, came into WCW that time as heel. And because of that history that's previous, they wanted us to have this match. And, there was a lot of politicking going on in the building that night. That was the night that Hogan refused to lay down to Jarrett. There was, honestly, there were little forest fires going on all over the dressing room. And so I think just because the atmosphere, everybody was questioning everything, because it didn't seem like anybody was really in charge. There was just these, you'd be in the room talking to somebody and say, hey, we need you down here. There's something wrong with Hogan. And there's over here. It was really a chaotic dressing room, a lot of running around. And in short order, as I recall, camps started popping up. Like, we're on this side of the fence or that side of the fence. And it became an issue. We later had the match. Marcus was a pro, and we've always gotten along famously. I mean, there was never an issue that I was aware of between us. Having been through that with the OxyContin, my heart breaks for anybody I see, especially my friends that I know going through it or having the issues with it. Because, I mean, let's face it, we have a long enough history. We've seen this movie enough times. We know how it ends. Most of the time with that person dying, very easily to see how that person could become incarcerated. And I don't think that any of us in those younger stages of our career endeavored for, at this point of our lives, to be worried about being arrested or dying early. I've seen more death in this business than I care to see. And when it was going on in the early 2000s, it almost like there was this pall over the business. Like, this is what happens. You wrestle, you get to this age, and then you die. It was just, it was almost like you were waiting for the Grim Reaper to knock on your front door. And, then again, like I said, you wrap your brain around, okay, well, I'm doing this to myself. And if I can stop doing this to myself, there's no reason I can't be healthy. And just, no, that is a super abbreviated, easy version of it. It was hands down the most difficult thing I ever did in my life, getting off OxyContin. It was extraordinarily difficult. So again, my heart breaks when I see anybody else going through that. And I wish best for all these guys. We'll all be in that hole soon enough. And I don't want to see us any leaving earlier than we should.